G'day guys, in this video I'm going to show you how to create a whole lot of different graphs using a Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. So first of all we're going to look at this nominal categorical data which I've already typed up into Excel. These are simply text boxes and I've made sure that these cells here, if I right click on them and format cells, actually they're going to be numbers, so I want 0 decimal places, which is what I've already got. If this was text I couldn't create a graph, but because they're numbers Excel recognizes that and Excel will graph it. So let's graph these first three: column, bar and sector graphs, which are all appropriate displays for nominal categorical data. I could use a divided bar graph as well, but that's harder to do in Excel. You could do it in a different software program, or you already know how to do that one by hand. So all I need to do is highlight the information I want to graph, insert the graph, and find the correct one over here in the charts menu. So Excel calls graphs charts. I can hover over them if I'm not sure what they are until I find a column and a bar graph, which is this one here. I'm going to insert my column graph. I'm going to click off the graph, highlight the information again, and I'm going to insert a bar graph as well. So the same information displayed in a different type of graph, and I'm going to insert a sector graph as well. So I've got my three options here on the page, and we can see that Excel calls a sector graph a pie graph, pie chart. So I might just squeeze that one up so they all fit on the page. I'm happy with the pie chart, or rather sector graph, because it's got a legend on it down the bottom. What I'd really like to do is format this to include the percentages and change the title of the graph, to something more meaningful. So maybe modes of transport. Got that there. I can change the way the graph looks up here by changing all of these. I want to put the percentages up, so I'm just going to go with this one, but you could personalize this, change the colors as much as you want. You could even make the graph misleading if that was something you were seeking to do, which hopefully it isn't, but if you needed to, you could definitely use Excel for that. Back on the column graph, again I want to change the heading to modes of transport, and I also want to make sure I've got a title on my axis title here. So the quickest way to do that is to go up to the format and design menus and change my layout to have one that's got a title on it, and I can see that this one does, but I've lost my total, my graph title. So I'm just going to keep playing around until I find one that's got both. This one will do, and unfortunately it's changed this again, modes of transport. Keep making the same spelling mistake here. I double click on it and I can change this title. It's the frequency of each mode of transport. I'll leave you to do the same on the bar chart, and you could change that one, or just as it's a text box I could delete that one because I've got my modes of transport listed down here. Now if I thought of another mode of transport, maybe it's riding a bike to school, and maybe there are 27 kids that do that. I can add that to the table. I can format my table by putting it in a border like the rest of the information, but I need to add it to the graph. So I right click on the actual graph itself, select data, because I want to add the data. And here I want to chart data range. I want to add more data. So I want to just delete that. Delete that, scroll back up to my data and re-highlight it and add in the bike. And it will add in my bike column. Happy days. Okay, so let's look at some continuous numerical data now. You already know that the appropriate data displays are these three. Again, I'm going to leave the two in brackets, which you can do by hand or find another software program to graph them to scale. We're just going to highlight the data and insert a line graph. Now a line graph is different to a scatter plot. This one here is a line graph, and again you can add in, you can change your quick layout to make sure you've got an axis title and the graph looks the way you want it to. What I don't want to do is accidentally do a scatter plot. I'll show you what that would look like. That is this one over here. A scatter plot's for bivariate data where you've got two pieces of information. Sometimes this doesn't come through correctly when you plot single variable data, so we'll just stick to the line graph for this type of data. Finally, for discrete numerical data, I'm going to show you how to plot a radar chart. We've already done these two, and a dot plot, stem and leaf plot, and a histogram and polygon are all appropriate for this sort of data as well, but they're harder to do in Excel. In fact, I don't know if you can do a dot plot or stem and leaf plot in Excel, but you could certainly find another software program to do them in. Again, I'm highlighting the data, going to insert and going over to the radar chart, and I'm selecting this one. I'm happy with the way this is displayed. If I thought it wasn't big enough, I could change the size of it, move it around the page. I can even right click and copy it to insert this graph into a Word document or something else if I was working on a project. But I'm finding that these terms here, the full name for each month, makes the graph look a bit busy. So I'm just going to go over here and change these to the 3-letter shortened versions of the month, and I'm hoping Excel will recognize this. Yep, and if I drag it down, it's changing it for me, and that just makes my graph look a little bit less busy, which enables me to focus on the data I've graphed.